Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving headfirst into the wild world of Monster Hunter Wilds, and trust me, things are getting seriously intense out in the Forbidden Lands. Since launch, this game has been dropping some absolute units of large monsters, and each new update just keeps raising the bar. These aren't your average beasties either. Every single one brings its own set of wild mechanics and did that just happen moments that keep even the most seasoned hunters on their toes. Now, you know we love a good challenge, so we went ahead and ranked these monsters based on how hard they hit, how deadly they really are, and just how much they made us sweat during the hunt. Some of these guys are pure chaos with wings, claws, or in some cases, way too many teeth. So grab your gear, sharpen those blades, and let's talk about who's giving hunters nightmares in Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking large monsters in Monster Hunter Wilds. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The large monsters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Balahara, Chadacabra, Congalala, Lalabarina, Gypsaros, Quematrice, and Rompopolo. You ever fight a monster and halfway through think, you know what? I got this. That's the vibe of the D-tier creatures in Monster Hunter Wilds. They're not pushovers, but let's just say they won't be the reason you're rage quitting at 2 a.m. Let's break them down, one predictable roar at a time. Let's start with Balahara, the electric sandworm that looks like it's auditioning for a role in Dune. This thing is fast, flashy, and a little dramatic, but honestly, it's the kind of fight that boosts your confidence. It has these dive patterns you can read like a bad plot twist, and once it parks itself on a rock, it basically sends a text saying, "Hey, free hits now." Even the electric corkscrew attack is like a spinning warning sign. It's a Leviathan-class monster, sure, but it's basically the tutorial boss wearing a lightning skin. Now on to Chadacabra, the sticky frog rock boy hybrid you never knew you needed. This amphibian spits adhesive saliva and builds armor out of rocks like it's playing Minecraft on hard mode. But don't let the gimmick fool you. It's actually a solid intro to how mechanics stack in this game. You learn positioning, timing, and how not to get glued to the floor. The developers gave it a 4-star difficulty rating, which in Monster Hunter terms means, congratulations, you've graduated from the kiddie pool. Next up is the Nostalgia Pack, Congalala, Lalabarina, and Gypsaros. Yes, they're back. Yes, they still move like they've just discovered caffeine. And yes, they're still some of the most lovable punching bags in the franchise. Congalala is basically the flatulent pink ape of your dreams. Lalabarina is its stylish cousin, who probably listens to disco. And Gypsaros? That's the one with the fake death move that still gets new players every time. They all have 4-star ratings, which is appropriate. They're not hard, but they will teach you not to button mash like a toddler with a toy drum. Let's talk about Quematrice, a brute wyvern that wants to watch the world burn. No, literally. It spreads fire powder like it's seasoning a barbecue. The good news? That fire is slow and easy to spot. The bad news? You will still roll into it once or twice while trying to be fancy. Quematrice is a teaching tool wrapped in feathers and rage. It shows you how to control spacing, and that not all fire comes in neat little lines. Then there's Rompopolo, another brute wyvern, but this one says, forget fire, how about some oil-based explosions? Think of it as Quematrice's slippery cousin who brings chaos to the cookout. The battlefield gets slick, the blast radius is bigger than your expectations, and suddenly you're learning a crash course in explosive hazard management. Just like its fiery counterpart, Rompopolo has a 4-star difficulty rating. Not too easy, not too cruel, but just enough to make you respect your health bar. To be clear, none of these monsters are boring. They all have personality. But D-tier is where you find the kind of fights that let you experiment with your builds, practice your combos, or just vibe without fear of getting triple carded into shame. These are the warm-up acts, the opening bands, the get your bearings before the real pain begins squad. So while they may not earn top marks in lethality or mechanical depth, these monsters absolutely earn their keep as teachers, entertainers, and confidence boosters. And let's be real, we all need a break between the ones that slap us into loading screens, right? Alright, deep breath, sharpen your weapon, because up next, we're heading into C-tier. And trust me, that's where things start getting mildly disrespectful. The large monsters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Doshaguma, Blangonga, and Rathalos, Rathian. You know you've hit C tier when the monsters stop being cute warm-ups and start giving you that, okay, maybe I should have eaten for defense feeling. These are the fights where you think you've got it handled, until suddenly you're on the ground, your Palico is panicking, and the monster's just standing there like it owns the map. Let's kick things off with Doshaguma, the fanged beast that screams apex predator from a mile away. This guy doesn't just hit hard, he rips up the earth like it's made of paper mache. He comes at you with shockwave slams, multi-hit combos, and that pack hunting behavior that makes you feel like you just wandered into a National Geographic documentary. But here's the kicker. Once you learn his rhythm, he kinda loses the edge. He's big, he's scary, but he's also one of those bosses that teaches you the age-old Monster Hunter lesson. If you can read it, you can beat it. Next up, the icy menace himself, Blangonga. He's like if Donkey Kong took a vacation to the Arctic and came back mean. Found leading his little Blango gang in the Ice Shard Cliffs, Blangonga loves nothing more than freezing your stamina bar with his chilly breath while zooming around like a caffeinated Yeti. He's fast, he's aggressive, and if you walk in unprepared, you're going to be drinking potions faster than he throws ice blocks. That said, once you catch on to his movement patterns, the fight becomes a manageable snowball fight, with claws. Now let's talk about royalty. Rathalos and Rathian, the original power couple of Monster Hunter. Rathalos is still the king of the skies, breathing fire like he's mad you skipped breakfast, while Rathian keeps things grounded with venomous tail flips and don't get too close energy. Together, they're like the mom and dad of mid-tier difficulty. They'll punish your mistakes, absolutely, but if you've got a few hunts under your belt, you'll likely walk away with a shiny plate and a proud smile. Their legacy makes them feel intimidating, but mechanically, you know what's coming. The reason they land in C tier is simple. They're tough, but fair. These aren't the fights where you throw your controller, they're the fights where you learn. You sharpen up your dodging, your spacing, and your item management, and they reward good habits, which is more than we can say for some of the jerks we'll meet in the next tier. So yeah, C tier is where the hand-holding stops and the real hunting begins. You won't get wiped out just for showing up, but sleeping on any of these monsters will get you carded faster than you can say faint. Hang tight, because B tier is coming up next. And that's where the monsters stop playing games and start swinging for the fences. The large monsters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Raydao, Uthduna, New Udra, Guardian Monsters, and Shu Wu. Alright, now we're cooking. Welcome to B tier, where the monsters stop being polite and start getting extra. These aren't the tutorial bosses or nostalgia nuggets anymore. These are the fights where the game checks your gear, your reflexes, and your emotional stability. Let's talk about Raydao, the lightning-slinging flying wyvern that made beta testers question their life choices. This creature only shows up during sand-tide weather, which is the game's way of saying, "You sure you want to do this today?" With foldable horns, bladed wings, and electrical attacks that never seem to miss, Raydao is relentless. It may have a 3-star difficulty rating on paper, but trust me, it hits like a high-tier gatekeeper. If you beat Raydao early, congratulations, you're officially built different. Then there's Uthduna, the undisputed apex of the Scarlet Forest, and probably the only Leviathan that looks like it rolled out of a nightmare swamp spa. Uthduna forms armor out of water and secretions. Yep, you read that right. Slippery, shiny, and weirdly effective, this beast shrugs off hits like it's wearing plot armor. It appears only during downpour conditions and will make you hate water-based damage more than you already do. If you don't bring the right elemental gear, Uthduna will turn your hunt into a soggy, soul-crushing tutorial on failure. And now, New Udra. First of all, round of applause for Capcom for giving us our first cephalopod monster. But also, why did it have to be this creepy? New Udra slithers and slides with movements that'll make your skin crawl. It fights at the peak of Oilwell Basin, and when it gets enraged, it's like trying to dodge a possessed garden hose with knives. 6-star difficulty? Deserved. This monster doesn't play fair. It rewrites the rulebook while smacking you across the map. Things only escalate with the Guardian monsters. Yes, all of them. Take normal monsters like Rathalos or Doshaguma, inject them with glowing earth energy, and give them powers like explosive crystal growths, self-healing, and complete immunity to exhaust and dung pods. That's right, no more flinging poop to send them packing. These guys absorb the land itself and hit back harder than your worst decision at 2 AM. The moment the word Guardian appears on screen, just assume your hunt is about to turn into a sweaty, snackless marathon. And if you thought that was the worst of it, let me introduce you to Shu Wu, the blind cephalopod apex predator that turns Ruins of Waveria into a horror movie. Shu Wu is terrifying not just because it's fast and aggressive, but because it feeds on other Guardian monsters. Yeah, it eats Guardian Ebony Odogaron for breakfast. Its golden mucus-hardened tentacles, try not to visualize that too hard, can launch slicing projectiles, and when it exposes its undermouth, you better not be standing still. That lunge move is a one-way ticket to camp. What makes all these B-tier beasts stand out is that they don't rely on cheap tricks. They're just better than you. They've got mechanics, mobility, and raw power. They force you to think, adapt, and sometimes retreat with your tail between your legs. But they also give you some of the most rewarding victories in the game. These are the monsters that make you fist pump at 5% health. So yeah, welcome to B-tier. Where the gloves are off, the music slaps harder, and every card is a valuable lesson in, maybe I should have upgraded my armor. Next up, it's A-tier. And if you thought this was rough, wait until the next crew starts showing off their actual final boss energy. The large monsters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Arkveld and Jin Dahad. Now we're in A-tier, the land of, oh, you thought you were good at this game. These monsters aren't here to teach you anymore, they're here to test everything you've learned, and punish you for anything you haven't. Let's start with the big one, Arkveld, also known as the White Wraith. This isn't just the flagship monster of Monster Hunter Wilds, it's the game's way of saying, congratulations on making it this far, now suffer. Arkveld fights with glowing chain whip limbs powered by pure dragon energy, and just to keep things spicy, manipulates time and space mid-battle. 1 second, you're dodging a grab, and the next, you're in a completely different corner of the map, wondering what dimension your Palico even exists in now. You need to be Hunter rank 40 just to unlock this boss, and even then, most players lose to it at least once, or 5 times. If you manage to beat Arkveld without carding, you have officially ascended. And then there's Jin Dahad, the Leviathan that looked at other monsters and said, "You call that a map? I need my own." That's right. This monster has a custom arena built around its chaos. Found deep in the frozen hellscape of Ice Shard Cliffs, Jin Dahad is the apex predator of the area, and it does not mess around. It unleashes wide-range attacks that shake the ground, shatter the ice, and basically scream, "This is my house." At a solid 6-star difficulty, this thing is a wall, both figuratively and literally. If you're not bringing the right strategy, it will flatten you. These A-tier monsters are more than just tough. They're cinematic. They change the entire vibe of the hunt. You're not just fighting a monster anymore, you're surviving a spectacle. The battlefield becomes a character, the stakes feel personal, and victory tastes better than a well-done steak from the Meowscular chef. So if you're ready for the big leagues, monsters that bend reality, destroy maps, and mock your rolling reflexes, then A-tier is your proving ground. But hey, don't worry, we've still got S-tier to cover. And trust me, that's where the real nightmares live. The large monsters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Gore Magala, Zoshia, and Mizutsune. And here we are, S-tier. The monsters that don't just test your build, they test your soul. These fights are less hunt and more survival horror with an anime soundtrack. If you've made it this far, congrats. Now get ready to die. A lot. Let's start with the nightmare himself, Gore Magala, now back and badder than ever as an 8-star tempered variant. You thought Frenzy was annoying before? Try it when it infects entire zones and your screen starts to look like it's glitching out. With over 55,000 HP, Gore Magala now has more health than Electrion, and yes, that's exactly as absurd as it sounds. Those winged leg combo strikes, they don't knock you out. They erase you from the timeline. This isn't just a damage race, it's an emotional endurance test. Bring your best gear, your best squad, and maybe a therapist. Next up is the monster that wasn't even part of the base game, Zoshia. Revealed in the title update, Zoshia came in like, "Hi, I'm actually the final boss now, thanks." And wow, does it deliver. This monster pulls out ultimate attacks multiple times like it's on a cooldown timer of pure hatred. It doesn't give you room to breathe, it gives you homework. Zoshia doesn't just earn its S-tier ranking, it defines it. If you beat this thing solo, honestly, Capcom should send you a certificate and a fruit basket. And then we have a returning fan favorite gone feral, Mizutsune, now in glorious 8-star tempered form. Remember when it was elegant and bubbly? Yeah, forget that. This version is like someone shoved it into an industrial fan and gave it a grudge. The tail swipes are faster, the spins are violent, and the cute factor is officially dead. Mizutsune is now one of the most feared apex predators in Monster Hunter Wilds, and the worst part? It still looks beautiful while ruining your life. What separates these S-tier monsters from everything below them isn't just stats, it's presence. These fights feel like boss raids from another game entirely. You'll need top-tier timing, optimized builds, and the reflexes of a caffeinated ninja. And even then, the cart count might hit double digits. But for those who conquer them, the glory is unmatched. These are the monsters you tell stories about. The ones that make you fist pump, shout at your screen, and instantly hit rematch because you know you can do better. And that's it. S-tier, the elite of the elite. If you can survive these fights, well, you're no longer just a hunter, you're a legend. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.